Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear Philosophy Lecture,
Profesor Dr. Haji Munirul Abidin MAG.
here I want to present the history of science and philosophy of science as a test assessment. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rosiana Trimiawati, ID 2306011100016. I am from Mathematics Class B. The topic in this discussion is Understanding Science of Philosophy of Science, Development of Ancient Greece, Lecture, Development Myth, and Development of the Renaissance Era. Okay, just go straight to the first discussion. Knowledge or understanding sense. According to the Lange, sense is a series of research activities that seeks to explain a method to obtain a rational, empirical understanding of the world, its various aspects, on overall systematic knowledge that explains various phenomena that humans want to understand. In the slide, there is a chart. In this chart is shown that knowledge must be achieved with human activity. This activity must be carried out using certain methods. And finally, methodical activity brings systematic knowledge. Science as a scientific activity can take the form of study, investigation, attempt to find or research. Therefore, searches are carried out repeatedly so that in the world of science, the term research is now used for the most important scientific activity to discover new knowledge. Next is the philosophy of science. According to the Liangji, philosophy of science is defined as all reflective thinking on issues regarding all matters relating to the foundation of science and the relationship between science and all aspects of human life. Philosophy of science can also be divided into two domains of study. One, philosophy of science in broad sense accommodates problems that discuss relationship of such scientific activity, such as a. Ontological is a metaphysical implication of the scientific world picture. B. A moral code that serves as a guide for manager of science. And C. Pragmatic consequence is a ethics of science organization and so on. 2. Philosophy of science in the narrow sense. According to Berling, the philosophy of science accommodates problem relating to the inward relationship contained within science itself, namely in the concerning the nature of scientific knowledge and ways of seeking and achieving scientific knowledge. Next, ancient Greek age. The beginning of the emergence of European science is thought to come from the philosophy of the Greek city-states that inhabit the coastal areas and islands in the eastern Mediterranean at the end of the 6th and 5th centuries BC. Their works are only known through snippets, reference, source quotation, made by authors who lived later, perhaps after hundreds of years and starting from the existence of thinking that began to be realized, because the Greeks felt themselves dead to a mystical attitude to life. As an example of a phrase from the famous tales, he is known as the oldest philosopher. Everything is water, and is actually followed by the quote, and the world is full of gods. However, it seems credible that the ancient Greek philosophers were more interested in explaining what phenomena relate to sensory perception or what could be called the perceptual world. Because the tellers argued the arche in the form of water was the first principle on basis of everything, and therefore his philosophy was called natural philosophy. In fact, Greek philosophers lead the scientific attitude among contemporary European countries. The Pythagorean school is considered a very important tradition. This is a very religious sect. The founder of this school tried to find the key to universal harmony for natural and social nature, which was considered as a series of 4 points. Zeno and Parmenides, the electric philosopher who emerged somewhat later, used sophisticated conceptual analysis to support philosophical positions proclaiming the eternal unity of existence is still a speculative explaining of common sense phenomena rather than a truly technical argument about controlled artificial experience, or also known as controlled artificial experience, which has only appeared since as Aristotle. The elite of the so-called Golden Age support this philosophy. When Pharisees forced Athens, but with common sense, they were still mysterious and magical at the time, as can be seen from the list of skills written or recorded in the work of Prometheus, the work of Aeschylus. By the end of the 5th century BC, the two arts being studied were approaching maturity, medicine and geometry. Plato lived in the early 4th century BC and was the first philosopher whose writing still exists. He was as significant propagandist of mathematics for the Republic. He argued that geometry enabled the men to talk about real or considered ideas dialectically. In Themis, he outlines a cosmogony along the Pythagorean direction and includes a theory of music from the point of view of simple balance, as well as an investigation of the theories of physics and psychology achieved at the time. He was friends with geometrists, one of whom was Euclides, the person who created mathematical cartography which showed that the earth was round. He also conducted in-depth research on incredible quantity. Aristotle, who also lived in the 4th century BC, was one of the world's greatest philosophers. He creates a pedagogical and taxonomic science very similar to those which exist today through process observation and discipline theorization. Additionally, he conducts collaborative research for large-scale studies. This is a comparative study of city-state legislation. In ancient Greece, he was critical in the scientific method. In every study he defined the problem area and spoke critical with his predecessor, usually pointing out that they were naive in some important aspects. At first, Aristotle worked as a student of Plato, but in the end he disagreed with his teacher on the most fundamental matters. In particular, he argued that mathematics was an abstraction from natural reality. According to him, natural is functioning system. Even though it was in the Hellenic era, it does not show that it succeeded to the highest point and was different from the genius of previous era. But in this culture, several mathematics Euclid, Archimedes, and Apollonius, and astronomers Hipparchus appeared. In addition, during this period, research in medicine and physiology has also developed rapidly. Egyptian alchemists also developed a European alchemy during this period. He tried to rationalize chemical change using Aristotle's theory. Next, Middle Ages. The Middle Ages began after the Roman Empire collapsed in the 5th century AD. This century is called the Middle Age because it is between two eras, ancient and modern times. The Middle Ages were part of the development of scholastic philosophy. It began in the second half of antiquity and is known as the patristic period. Scholastic philosophy includes theories compiled by Aristotle. It was used by Islamic, Jewish, and Christian philosophers to revive their thinking. Thus, myths produced only philosophers and the two new order that emerged in the Middle Ages. The precision and the domination were large at their origins. The term scholasticism, the term scholastic curves come from the Latin word scholasticus, which meant teacher. During this period, philosophy was taught in school, monasteries, and universities. The Middle Ages were marked by the emergence of theologians in the fields of science. Scientific activity are closely related to religion because almost everyone is a theologian. There are many striking differences between the Middle Ages, especially in terms of religion's dominance. Religious belief changed greatly when Christianity emerged, which was taught by the Prophet Isa. Christianity became a philosophical problem because it teaches that God's revelation is the true truth. Discussed again the ancient Greek belief that reason is the only way to discover the truth. Medieval philosophy will talk the following two periods. 1. Patristic period. Patristic comes from the Latin patris, which means godfather, namely Christian religious aspects in the early context of Christianity. This period has two stages. A. The beginning of Christianity. After going through many difficulties, especially those related to Greek philosophy, Christianity established itself, strengthening the core externally and enforcing dogma internally. B. The philosophy of Augustine, a famous philosopher of the patristic period. Augustine viewed dogma as a whole. 2. Scholastic period. The scholastic period lasted from this period is divided into three stages. A. Early scholastic period. Characteristic by the formation of method born from the close relationship between religion and philosophy. B. Peak period of scholastic development. Characterized by condition influenced by Aristotle due to the arrival of Arab and Jewish philosophers. The peak of its development was in Thomas Aquinas. C. Late scholastic period. Characterized by philosophical that developed towards nominals. It is a school which believes that universal does not provide guidance on the same aspect as general knowledge, affirming the existence of something. Next era Renaissance. During the Renaissance, medieval culture began to develop into a modern one. Renaissance, also known as Renaissance or Renaissance, means being reborn as an individual who is free to think or produce works. This period is considered a link between medieval and modern times. The Renaissance period, starting a culture before the modern era, namely in the 16th century, is called the bridge because the ideas of contemporary science are rooted in the opposition toward perspective. Historians are still limited to the categories of time and unable to understand the external world more broadly. During the Renaissance, many people record extraordinary discoveries such as those made by Copernicus. Copernicus put forward theories that were not always accepted, but gradually his heliocentric theory attracted attention, and many others come to support it. In this period, famous people and their ideas were 1. According to Richard Bacon, the first and final test of all science is based on our empirical experiment. All science requires mathematics. With this theory, he lived a period of that studied reasoning and ways of thinking, as well as talks that ended to religion and philosophy. The path of rationalists in the Middle and Dark Ages was based on scripts on and the works of Aristotle, which made new ideas impossible. From the statement above, it can be conclude the A. Roger Bacon's opinion was not immediately accepted by scholars. B. Bacon has not been able to free himself from the sex of superstition and rational thinking. C. He moved around a lot in politics and religions and finally he went to prison. D. He was one of the pioneers of empiricism, however he did not leave any work that was meaningful to science because of the conflict of his time. His books were not published, and after 500 years they were only published. E. Human experiment research is published as knowledge as research. 2. Copernicus said the Earth and the planet revolve around the Sun, so that the Sun was the center or heliocentric theory. This view is contrary to the general view of Hipparchus and Ptolemy, which tests that the Earth is the center of the universe or geocentric. 3. Johannes Kepler discovered three laws that complement Brahe's previous research, namely A. First proof that the motion of celestial body does not move along circular paths, but rather along elliptical paths. The orbits of all planets are elliptical. B. When will the lines connecting the planets and the sun always pass through the same area? C. With mathematical calculation, it has been proven that if the Earth is distant of two planes E and P from the Sun is X and Y, then the time to orbit their respective. 4. Galileo Galilei built the large telescope and the time and directly observed many celestial events. He discovered several important events in the field of astronomy. He saw two planets, Venus and Mercury, so chance like the moon. So he concluded that the planets themselves did not emit light but only reflect sunlight. Okay, next conclusion. Science is a series of research activities that seek explanation to gain empirical understanding. Philosophy is all reflective thinking, one problem on problem. In essence, clears the beginning of the emergence of European science is thought to have come from the philosopher of the Greek city-states. The Middle Ages began after the fall of the Roman Empire. The Renaissance was a period of transition from medieval culture to modern culture. Okay, that's all I can say. Thanks for your attention and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.